Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on episode 11, season 6 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook and YouTube throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Well, another Magic round has come and gone, and I thought it was a pretty good round despite the weather. Another Warriors win, a dominant Panthers display, and a Raiders golden point to finish the night off, or finish the weekend off, I should say. How are you, and what do you think of the round?
Hey, Brad, I'm good, man. Yeah, Magic Round's always good. Be great if we actually got to go again. Like it's another year's gone past where just see nothing but all our friends posting stuff on socials about how good of a time it is. So yeah, I think I was saying to you on our group chat during the week, must be time to start a savings campaign for next year because I've got to get amongst that.
Mate, they're all lying. It looks like it's an absolutely horrible time to go.
No, you definitely not. It looks like the time of our lives. But yeah, how are you anyway?
Yeah, good. Really enjoyed the weekend. I must say this was a Magic round I was happy to miss, looking at all the wet weather. But yeah, it looked like a great time. As you said, saw everyone. There were like Ruin Hammer, Warriorholic.
Yeah,
basically everyone that does social media stuff for the Warriors were all there. We were the only ones that stayed behind.
As always.
This Warriors Life made over. It was Will and Brad from This Warriors Life's first time over for Magic Round 2. So feels like we are the very last ones.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll I'm sure by the time we get around to it, mate, they'll move it. There is news. Bjorn just distracted me with a comment. By the time we get around to it, no, mate. So yeah, Bjorn, welcome here. He said he missed the start of last week's show. You mentioned you cooked dinner, but you never mentioned what it was. Yeah, so that was for what game was that? That was the Warriors. Was that in Christchurch, wasn't it? Anzac Day.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm back with it. I did lamb shanks for me and the missus.
Oh, that sounds love a good lamb shank.
Just did it in the old.
Look at you, Brad. Chef Brad.
Old slow cooker. Never does me wrong.
Bjorn was there on Sunday. You're from Brisbane, aren't you, Bjorn, if I'm not mistaken? Glad you had a good day out, mate.
Yeah, and to be fair, we'll go through the games anyway, but I felt like there weren't too many of the games that were a bore to sit through. It felt like every game gave you a bit of something.
Yeah.
Even in the wet weather, they tried to keep the footy as entertaining as possible, as best as they could, which was always good. And yeah, thoroughly great. And I will talk about it at length when we go about the Warriors-Cowboys game, but that is one of the most stressful games I've watched in quite some time. Sitting exactly where I am right now at my computer desk watching it and thinking we're going to lose and getting stressed. I was getting messages from you. Ruin Hammer weren't so much because they were actually there and they were a bit busy. But even my dad was watching it down in Dunedin and he was texting me heaps saying like, are they going to win this or are they going to cock it? And yeah, Bjorn said he lives there, but he's from Wanganui. And then Jacko said Wanganui as well. Jeez.
Wanganui in the house, boys.
I won't hold it against you. But it's pop calling the kettle black with two boys from Rewa on this show.
Yep.
So yeah, as you said, we're going to probably go through pretty quick, and we've spent 5 minutes before even finishing the intro. So we're on a great start.
We're just gas bagging. Yeah, Paul's not here.
Yeah, as you can tell, Paul's not here, so we're loosey goosey. But while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the Magic Round matches. We'll then take a look at the ladder, fantasy teams, and the tipping comp. Not a fan of the tipping comp anymore, mate. You're all leaving me behind. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys as well. Questions we're prepared for each other. We all know that's code for I'm going to answer all your questions as we go. And then we'll preview round 10 and decide who we pick. And I've got my pad here to write them down for Paul in case he wants to lose some money on the multi. I will say I came bloody close to my multi this week, mate.
Which one tripped you up?
The last one, Golden
Storm.
Point.
Yeah.
Which made my opinion on the match very hard because I think there's a lot of bias in it from me. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it at that point. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump into the top stories of the week, mate.
Yep, let's do that.
I left a whole lot off. Been a crazy week, as you know. So I might have missed some things. So if there's something we don't talk about, it's not because I didn't think it mattered. It's just busy times. But New South Wales drew first blood in State of Origin women, mate, with a 32-12 win at Suncorp on Thursday to kick off Magic Round. You mentioned you saw the highlights but didn't see the game. I didn't see it either. So from the highlights, did it look like a surprise? It didn't sound like an upset. It sounded like most people were picking New South Wales to win this one.
Yeah, I was. It looked like some nice tries scored in the highlights. Yeah, we're off to a great start, aren't we, Brad? Our weekly rugby league show. We didn't even watch the first bloody game of the week.
I watched all the others. It's a consolation. And Jacko said, yeah, women's game was crazy, a great watch. Yeah, I heard nothing but good things out of it. It's just I had other things happening, unfortunately, which stopped me from watching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well done to New South Wales. We'll see what it's like. I'm hoping they just move it to a later time so we get warmed up players ready to go. Not that it affects us because we're Kiwis, but and the only one I support in New South Wales isn't playing, so it doesn't matter to me. On to more Warriors-related news. The Warriors Harold Matt's team went back-to-back, winning their second final, 30-16 over the Knights. Great effort from them. You know, their first year in the comp last year, and they won it, and then they did it again. I listened to some interviews with TJ, their coach, and Andrew McFadden and the like, and they actually said, like, this team is pretty much brand new as well. A lot of the guys that played in it last year aren't in there.
Yeah.
Which makes it even better. It's not like the same team that won it last year just went back to back. They had new players in. And yeah, SG Ball hasn't gone as well. But the fact that the Harold Matts is pulling out these big wins, New South Wales Cup is doing well. Warriors are doing well as well, ladder-wise. It's all pointing to hopefully bright days in the future, which is the whole purpose of Harold Matts and SG Ball and the like.
Yep. Young fullback Lamana is a future star from Jacko. He is. From what I've seen of him, he looks very impressive. Scored some killer tries this year.
Yeah, and he was one of the ones that McFadden was talking about, of the players that will, like, straight after this will go into another higher grade to keep playing. He was one that they talked about. So they got to lock those little shining diamonds up as quickly as they can, and hopefully develop them into, you know, first grade level competitors. So
yeah,
looking forward to it. Next bit, I forgot to add it, but I'll add it as I go. Andrew Abdo has said he will consider taking Magic around overseas in future years to try and globalize the sport. And he was also pushed about expansion, about when's New Zealand getting another team. And he basically said, not anytime soon. We're not focused on that right now. So, but sucks. I understand their idea about trying to take Magic around the world. I don't know if I'm in the minority or not. I'm in the opinion that I would prefer it stays in Brisbane. Brisbane just seems perfectly suited for it. Like everyone says, you know, the stadium's right there. It's a big stadium. You've got all the bars and everything around it. Walking distance, it just all makes sense. Like I'd love a match ground in like New Zealand, but I couldn't think of a place that would give you everything that you get from Brisbane. And Simon said New Zealand about another team. Yeah, the government won't pay, which is a thing there. Conrad said Magic Ground Auckland would be good. It would be, but I still think it's perfectly suited for Brisbane. I think there's something you could do.
I think Magic Round in Auckland would be good if it had a purpose-built footy stadium in the city near everything.
If they had that stadium in the viaduct type thing. And and Simon said, New Zealand is never getting it because of the budget. The Queensland government pay a lot of money to get it, and rightly so. I think they've been doing a great job with it. So I see his idea, and the first thing that popped into my head when he talked about it was America, and I was like, they struggled in America with 4 games?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get people to, admittedly you have 3 in one day, but I don't think you're going to get them to come back, 3 days in a row. So it wouldn't work for me. So I'm hoping they think of something else. Any other thoughts?
Brisbane's just the perfect spot for it, as you said, Brad. It would be silly to tinker with it and take it. You could grow the game with other methods, but I think Magic Round, you found a formula that works super well. Just don't touch it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm pretty sure they've got like another 2 or 3 year on the deal for Brisbane to have it anyway. So it's not anything they can think about anytime soon. So we'll move on. Sam Burgess has made his interest known that he wants to be a head coach for one of the new expansion sides in the NRL. I assume that he's looking at the Perth one. I don't know if he's interested in moving to Papua New Guinea. But do you think though, I'm not going to say it's a risk, but do you think they would give a young coach from the UK that gig, or will they want an experienced campaigner, kind of like what they did with Wayne Bennett when they gave him the Dolphins? Or would they risk it? It's hard to say, but
I don't. When I
you
think
don't
of
care, do you?
Not really, no. But for the sake of actually providing content for the show, I think he would make a good coach. He's, from what I don't know him personally, but from what my point of view is, I think he strikes me as the kind of guy that is sort of a follow me type of guy and an inspiring type of character. I don't know what he's like technically, but you can always get assistants to help you with that kind of thing. But I think he'd go all right. It just depends whoever was running one of those new franchises. Are they willing to take a punt on that?
Yeah, he's been doing well with Warrington, but as we all know, and there's a bit of a news story about it later, Super League isn't the NRL, is it? So I've always kind of saw him being the Rabbitohs coach. That he would be the one that comes in when Wayne Bennett either leaves to go to another club or actually finally retires. That was what I had. I'm not in his ear or anything. There's not a lot of first grade jobs available in the NRL. They're about to have 2 extra ones, but it is what all the coaches want. So I think he'd have a decent stab at it, but they need to make the decision soon because they're going to have to start planning a squad. So we'll see. But I still think it's Brad Arthur in the driver's seat due to his experience. But yeah, we'll see. The next one's quite a lot because the story keeps getting bigger and bigger, mate. David Fafita. So he's making headlines. He got dropped for Magic Round. He actually spoke about it and said that he's going to fight to save his Titans career, and he does not want out. That's very different to the story that came out today, where apparently he's willing to take a pay cut to get out of there, despite doing the backflip on the Roosters, which would have solved this problem. Hindsight's a beautiful thing. And he said there is a reason for his dropping, and the real truth will come out one day, which is a weird statement to make. Some of the rumors are he wanted to be one of the rumors. I can't confirm it, obviously, but he wanted to be the left edge second rower. And Des is like, no, both or more is doing well out there. You can be on the right, and he's apparently not liking it. And then he got dropped and did really bad in reserve grade against a team that was bottom of the ladder. Apparently, he ran next to nothing. But yeah, there has been a lot of noise that the Titans are looking to get rid of him as quickly as possible. Became very funny when they were trying their best to keep him, not even 12 months ago. Willie Mason was one of many of former players. Andrew Johns and Brad Fittler were talking about it too. I didn't get their quotes though. But yeah, Willie Mason said it looks like Fafita just doesn't care and he needs to prioritize rugby league and live up to his potential, or it will be the biggest regret of his career. And yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Big Willie on that one. David Fafita is probably one of the most naturally gifted big men we've seen in a long time. You know, the size, the speed, the power. You just never feel like you get the maximum effect of it when you're watching him play over a period of time. You know what I mean? He has games where he doesn't show up. He'll have games where he does, and he looks like a world beater, but there's not a lot of consistency there. So, man, he's got the physical attributes to do anything, but he's just I don't know whether those rumors are true, but don't be kicking stones over what position you're playing. You could play anywhere in the forward pack and be dominant if you put your mind and heart to it. I just don't know that he does.
Yeah, I've said it a lot on the show and in personal life when it comes to sport. I'll take heart over talent any day of the week. And at the moment, that seems to be what's missing. And Jacko said Fafita's another Dave Taylor type. I love Dave Taylor, and for his size, he had all the skill in the world, but I don't know if it just came too easy to him and he took shortcuts and it ended up with his career not being what it could have been. And then, Jacko also said, give a guy $1 million per year to live on, the Gold Coast problems may arise.
Yeah. I'd play up for sure.
But yeah, it feels I can't speak for him because we're not in his mind. We don't know. He might just be in a funk. And it's just things aren't working for him at the moment. But it looks like things have just been far too easy for him, and he's not willing to put the effort in. And complaining if you're on the left or right, if that is what is the case, is probably the silliest thing to hear a player getting ousted from the club from. If that is the sticking point. Apparently him and Des aren't getting on. I don't know. It sounds like the Roosters, as much crap they got for him backflipping on them, it sounds like they dodged a bullet because their run of players they've recruited in not working out. He would have just been the final nail in the coffin, I think. But we'll see what happens. By this time next week, we'll probably be talking about him joining another team. Conrad said Fafita's the man, dominant runner, always gains the advantage line. We'll have him at the wires. I'm happy to not have him, to be honest. I think we've got enough second rows. We don't need any more.
I'd be happy if we got the best of them every week. But
if we got the best, that is it. I think a guy like Webster would be a guy that could probably get that out of him. He seems to be that type of coach. And then, Jacko said 2026, Fafita and Des will not be at the Titans, which does go into my next topic because there's a lot of conflicting stories there, which the Titans have come out. This is the curse, mate. They came out and stated that Des Hasler is safe as their coach. Which automatically means he's going to get the sack. That's what happens. They basically said there's a lot of pressure, but the pressure is on the club, not the coach. And so, that's not how that shit works normally. You don't see the board exiting when a team's not doing well. It happens from time to time, but usually the coach is the first head to roll. So, unless they pick things up, I think we're going to see him out. I know there was an article. I didn't get to read it all. I saw it today talking about how they've already apparently in the background have already started formulating a plan on his exit. So we'll see. We'll just have to take it. But what it is, another loss this week. We might be talking next week about him being sacked, mate. Your man that you picked to be the first coach sacked is getting little bit of life with a decent win.
Yeah, I know you had some life breathed back in, but yeah, I also had. I think in my predictions I had Titans to get the spoon. So hey, it could be one. It could be that one wrong, this one right. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then the last one before we move into some more about rumors about players being told to leave. Dominic Young has apparently been told by the Roosters he's free to go if someone wants him. There's a lot of rumors, nothing confirmed, but the Knights are interested in bringing him back because they never wanted to lose him to begin with. They need help with their attack. He would help, and he could apparently be back there as soon as next week. I don't know what's happened there with Dom Young. You know, he hit the ground running with the Roosters this year and then has kind of fell out of favor. I think he had like 5 tries already this year for them.
Yeah.
I don't
defensively,
know.
He's been all out. Defensively, he's been all out at sea at times, more often than not. That's his Achilles heel. That the defense. He's not the best at it. Supreme attacker when he's put into space because he's got that speed and finishing ability. But yeah, for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out. Similar to Cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but you're not paying your wingers to make tackles, are you? You're paying wingers to score tries.
No, that's absolutely true. But if you're scoring one and giving up one, then
then you're at a
But I mean, I don't know, mate. He's an enigma. A lot of talent there, and I think if he finds his groove again, he was awesome at the Knights. So, I mean, if they want him back, and that might be the catalyst for a return to form. But I don't understand the Roosters. They just spent a whole bunch of money on outside backs, pretty much. You know, how many outside backs do you need? You already got Tedesco, Tupou, then you signed Young. You mark Nwingini Tuase. They got plenty of talent there. They had Suali, who only just left this year. I mean, how many back 5 players do you need? Back 3.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's all firming up that they're going to be getting Cherry Evans as well. Nothing confirmed there, which I think is crazy because Sam Walker's going to come back, and the other young kid, is it Sandon Smith? Is that his name?
Yeah.
He's been going gangbusters. I don't see, like, you're potentially bringing DCE in and losing one of those young guys.
Yeah.
Most likely Sandon Smith.
Jacko raised a good point in the comments. 2 young outside Gagai and Manu was a different player. And, I mean, a good centre can make a massive difference to a winger.
Yeah, and I thought he should never have left the Knights. I thought going to the Roosters was a mistake. I thought he was really finding his groove at the Knights, but the brown paper bag was too heavy, so he had to go for it. So yeah, we'll see. We might be talking about him being a Knight again next week. I know Jago said, did Young come from Union? He kind of plays like it. I don't know if he originally was from Union, but he's from the Super League. He was playing over there. He's one of the only backs of recent times that have come down from the UK that's actually been doing okay. But yeah, we'll see. We'll move on. Not too much more in news, mate, but Jerome Hughes has spoken out. We talked about it last week that apparently, you know, most of the pundits across the ditch have already put a Perth Bears jersey on him. He has said he wants to stay at the Storm forever. So I don't know if we put the same note on that as we do with CEO saying a coach is safe. Does that mean he's already signed with Perth, or he was close to coming to the Warriors at one point, so I don't know if forever is a tag that he wants to stick with it. But I don't. He's kind of got the rule of the roost at Melbourne, so why would he leave? I don't know. I think he might leave if his mates were all leaving. Like if Pep and that were all ditching as well, he might, but I don't see it happening.
Or if the bag was big enough.
All right, yeah.
Money talks. Yeah.
loyalty is a big thing, but money's bigger. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We've got a couple of years before we have to worry about that, I guess. Next one was interesting. I don't really have anything to say about it, but I thought we'd be able to mention it. The NRL's rumored apparently to be looking at setting up a task force to review the salary cap and see if it's still having the desired effect. Peter V'landys said it hasn't had a proper review in a long time. And Jacko mentioned as well, Hughes re-signed with the Storm this year for 3 years. Yeah. And then, Bjorn said talk today was Perth would look to sign Luke Metcalf from the Warriors.
Oh, no. Back off.
He's already got a New Zealand child. He's not going to leave. We just got to keep his missus happy. That's the golden rule. Keep his missus happy and he'll stay in New Zealand. We'll see. I think it all depends how good the Warriors are going. If the Warriors are consistently, hitting the stripes and being a good team, you're not going to abandon that to go to a new startup. So but salary cap, Matt. V'landys wants to see if it's still having a desired effect. I don't think it. You could say it is and it isn't, because you look at this year how even everything is, but you also have teams that are just stockpiling players. And Bjorn said they're cooking the lamb shanks. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad, do what you got to do.
My missus might get me in the shits, man, if I'm cooking meals for other women. She knows that's all I do for her. That's the only good thing I do for her, mate. You've met her. You've seen how horrible I treat her.
Food makes
cooking
it all better.
nice meals is all. And dragging her to Warriors games. But there's some teams, it's all the jokes we always have about, like, do the Bulldogs have a cap anymore? The Roosters have never had one. But we are seeing, you can say it's having the desired effect where Penrith have fallen off now because things like that. And Jacko said lamb shanks are expensive, Brad's on the big money. These were very discounted. That's why we had lamb shanks. They were on special.
Well, the way I look at it is there are two anomalies: Penrith over the past half decade and Melbourne. If you put them aside and look at all of the other teams, the past few years there's been a lot of toing and froing, changing of the top eight. It's not like the top eight's been the same every year. We've had teams rise, teams fall. So I think if you take away the Panthers and the Storm, then I think it has been doing its job. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. We've had a top 4 team ends up missing the finals the year after. A team that missed the finals year before makes top 4. It goes around. I think the stat. I think there was a stat that they said, like, the last 8 years or something, only 3 teams have won the premiership. But you got a big asterisk with Penrith in there where they've won half of that time. I think they said it was Penrith, the Storm, and the Roosters. But, like, how long ago did it feel like the Roosters were in talks?
I mean, a while ago now. But yeah, Penrith is just they're one outside the box because they developed that dynasty team. It's not like they went out and blew their cap out and purchased a whole bunch of absolute guns. They developed them from the ground up.
Yeah, and that is the way you get around the salary cap, by developing your own talent, because you can generally pay a homegrown talent cheaper than bringing someone else in. So that is why pathways are so important if you want to balance that salary cap. Because, you could have, like, Leka Halasima, right? Homegrown talent. You don't have to pay him big bucks from the get-go, as opposed to if Halasima was playing at Penrith and then we brought him in next year, we'd probably be paying him a lot more than what he's getting. That money's going to go up the better they get, but that is the general idea, that you're paying cheaper for the guys that you've developed, and you're hoping as well that they have a bit of a soft spot. Daniel Tupou is actually a good example. He's been getting unders at the Roosters, which may not be true, depending on how they're doing the budget. But he is a guy that's been there from day dot, has loyalty to the club, and is willing to take less than he'd probably get elsewhere to stay. So you get some players like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I've been more interested in them having a task force that's looking into all the clubs to make sure the salary cap is actually valid. Like the Roosters, I give them a bit of leeway, like when they're saying about DCE going, because they did lose a lot of big names that were getting paid big bucks last year. So they theoretically should have money in the cap. If they were getting DCE and they still had Hargraves and all that, then it would be different. And Jagger said, any idea how much we're paying Gannon? I don't have any idea, but it's not like ridiculous money. I think it's valid money, but it's not like we're paying him like Tohu Harris money or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't have an actual quote.
I guess part of the carrot for him would be obviously his previous relationship with Agar and the opportunity to come over here and prove himself. So, yeah. So, I'm with you. I don't think the money is huge, but it'll be enough.
And the Warriors that recently have proved to be a bit better at managing their cap. And like we talked about Aaron Clark when they announced his signing, we're saying like they're most likely, we don't know the figures, but it sounded like they were going to get Aaron Clark for cheaper than what they would have had to pay to keep Jazz Tavanga.
Yeah.
Like on a money point of view, that makes sense. And it's proving very fruitful at the moment. And Bjorn said he wants more info around third-party payments. That's what helps big clubs. Yeah, third-party is where it all throws the salary cap out the window, because you can pay a player $300,000 and then they get paid $600,000 for a third-party deal. Where a team like the Warriors or the Titans or the Tigers, I might put into that level too, may not have the capability to pay $600,000 in a third-party deal. So I think that's where it gets a bit messy. But we'll never know. It's cloak and daggers because the RLPA refuses to let them publicize what players are getting. That would fix everything. That's why in the NFL you don't have as many dramas about salary cap, because everything's out in the open.
Yeah.
And it's part of the deal of having a salary cap. You got to have everything open. But the RLPA, I don't like them, but they seem to make things a lot harder than they should be. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to add about that while we've waffled for so long? We really need more here, mate.
I know. We need our time monitored, but no, I'm happy to move on.
We'll talk about Volandis once more, mate. He also was talking about the expansion plan, saying that it's kind of going to what we said. So I don't know if he watches or not, but he said 20-team comp, mate. Said with a 20-team comp, you can have every team play each other once and once only, which will allow more time for rep football to be played throughout the year. The rep football throughout the year isn't what we said.
Yeah.
But it just...
It sounds perfect, though. That sounds good, right?
20 teams play each other once, then go into finals.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier for everyone and gives you more time to do internationals at the end. So
we've talked about that previously too, being advocates of wanting more rep footy for Kiwis, etc. But the shortened competition, having 20 teams, everyone play each other once, to me, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. So we'll see if it actually happens though, or if they're like, no, we can get this much extra on a TV deal if we make everyone play this many games instead. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's good to see the kind of thinking. And Simon said, I think you're trying to say that right now, but I think they'll try to play a couple of teams with extra rounds to do the derbies. Yeah, I think that's still going to sneak in. They're going to want to have the those rivalry games like that they like to see. So they will try to push that. I think it will still leak out, but we've got a couple of years before we even get to 20. And then Jacko said, Abdo said no more teams until after the Olympics in 2032. Yeah, I think that was kind of like what I said about the New Zealand team. We said the expansion's going to be ages away after the ones. So it's annoying that they put 2 in. Like now, I would have rather the 1 and then they do more, because we're going back to uneven teams again, and it's strictly selfish. It messes up fantasy when you've got a team having a bye every week. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see. We don't really know much more. We'll go into Super League now. Don't change the channel, Jacko. It's just quick. The Super League are reportedly set. I haven't seen the update recently to know if it's happened yet, but they were looking at finding Luke Keary after he said in an interview last week that the Super League was unwatchable. So Super League's not happy that one of their stars currently at the moment has said it's unwatchable. It was a big interview because he was basically begging the NRL to just come in and take control of it because it's unwatchable, which
Jacko agrees with.
Yeah, but I can't say yes or no because I don't watch it because I'm not going to pay for the streaming service to watch it.
Even if I had if it, like I think you're about to say, even if it's on Sky, I think I'd probably watch a Wigan game and then I'm not adding the rest of the round to my must-watch list when I'm already watching all the NRL games.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. They need to do something, and but yeah, we'll see if he actually gets a fine. And then last one before we get into injuries, mate. Warriors released a sneak peek of the new jersey, designed by former player Lewis Brown, reported to be released for purchase on the 14th of May, which is next week. I already know the answer, but the rest of the people here don't. What did you think about it?
Let me choose my words carefully because what I want to say probably not allowed. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it looked nice. It's nice to see. I know they had talked about it. They wanted to. They talked about their deal with Lewis Brown about how he was going to be included in designing merch and stuff for the club due to his venture that he's on now with his clothing brand and stuff. And Bjorn said got a photo. I haven't seen it. They haven't really done a good photo of it, mate.
There was a little video. Hey,
there was a video. If you go onto the Warriors Instagram later on, you should be able to see it. I was trying to get a picture, but there wasn't anything like screenable. I'm looking on there right now. This is great viewing, guys. Just sit here while I Google.
It's a very simple jersey, black and
it's very reminiscent of the Kiwis one. Black,
but
and
very
white.
Well done though. Looks very well done.
Yeah, looks nice, and it's another one where Vodafone have agreed to let their logo fit with the jersey. So instead of having the green ring of doom, it's a white ring. The ring's still there, but it's incorporated and designed better. And Jagger said another jersey. Oh well, see, it's the battle. This poor team. I feel for the Warriors. They make jerseys. People complain there's too many, and then they don't make one for Anzac Round, and people complain why isn't there another jersey? But yeah, I think you're allowed a certain amount each year, and I think this is one they design. I assume it's going to be the heritage one, right? Is it going to be classed as the heritage? Because we haven't seen an official heritage.
Yeah.
Because we had home, away, Pacific. So this heritage, you're 4, and I think you're allowed 4 or 5 a year. I can't remember.
We had the Anzac as well. Or did we? No, we didn't really.
No, our Anzac was the same jersey. They just
red numbers.
Red numbers, yeah. And Bjorn said is an interesting feed. I can relate. We won't into it.
That's why you have 2, mate. One wholesome, one that you can't show anybody.
I just have it all together. So normally we'd move into signings, but there haven't been anything confirmed. There was rumors that Starling had extended with the Raiders, but nothing officially came out, so we'll keep that for next week. Injuries, there were so many again, man. I feel like it's a full-time job writing down all these injuries. So I've just grabbed ones that I care about. So Max Plath from the Dolphins, he's had surgery on his foot and he's going to miss about the next 4 weeks. Warriors had Ali Leatawa injured his ankle in the captain's run. Haven't got it's TBD. We don't know how many weeks it's going to be out. Rocco Berry did his hamstring in the game. Another TBD. And then Ed Cossey from the Warriors as well, shoulder injury. Hurt his shoulder early on, either at the end of the first half or beginning of the second, and played through the pain due to just needing bodies out there.
It was quite bad too. Hey? I saw him after the game sort of slinging his arm up. Was it broken?
I think they haven't said, but I know Ruin Hammer told us that it may be a broken shoulder.
Yeah.
So tough for him. Right time to do it though, with Dallin and Roger coming back. But nothing but credit to him for sticking it out.
Tough, very tough.
And Jacko said he thinks Cossey has a broken collarbone, but may be wrong. I haven't seen an official diagnosis from it, so hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. Sifa Talakai.
No, I was just going to say it's a cursed time to be a Warriors outside back at the start of the season.
We've got a sniper at the top of Mount Smart just taking out all the outside backs, I tell you.
Yeah.
Sifa Talakai from the Sharks, he had an HIA, knocking himself out, unfortunately. 11-day stand down. I had Corey Horsburgh on here too, mate. He had a 11-day stand down from getting punched by one of his own players. But he is yet another player that got it overturned. So he is free to play, which is interesting, but he's in my fantasy team, so I'm happy. Saves me a trade. Peter Mamozelis from the Rabbits dislocated his elbow. Needs scans. I haven't had an update on how long he's going to be out, but he hasn't been named this week. And then David Fafita. Be a few weeks. David Fafita, who we just talked about, he is out indefinitely with an ankle injury. So he's apparently his surgery didn't do well after being dropped and then playing very, very badly in reserve grade. So we'll see. That would make it very hard for the Titans to offload him if you're offloading him with a bum ankle and he can't play. So could also conspiracy act could also be a ploy to make sure he can't get fired yet. And Naughty Boy Corner, mate, we only got two. Ruben Cotter from the Cowboys got a grade 2 careless high tackle, 2-match ban. Not bad for a tackle that didn't even get a penalty.
Don't know how they missed that. It was a full-on shoulder to the head, and I think it deserves a ban. But we scored like pretty much straight after that, right? I think from memory, so it kind of didn't really matter.
Didn't really matter, but it's just interesting. I know we talked about like how they kept going back the week before, and we were all complaining. I'm not saying I wanted them to see this go back, but this is kind of the example of what the higher-ups were saying. They wanted the bunker to interfere in ones like this. But, 2-match ban. I think 2 matches is probably a bit harsh, maybe a week. But it is what it is. And then Jacob Preston from the Bulldogs, mate, 4-match ban. He had a grade 1 crusher that was going to be 3 weeks with a guilty plea. He decided he wanted to go and fight it and was unsuccessful.
Yeah. So, what's with the dogs and their discipline?
They got everyone out at the moment. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think there was much in it. And 4 matches, I think 3 for a grade 1 is pretty extreme already. But I can see their point of view if I'm fighting it because of how many people are out there at the moment. They have to try to keep someone. But
so on a normal person scale, it's pretty fair, but on the Brad scale, it's a bit harsh.
Wasn't even a penalty, man. It was fine. But that's it for all the news. And then before we go into the games here, Jacko said, how did the Dogs think they would get Preston off? Silly move as he had prize as well. When I heard he was going to fight it, it was like, there's no chance. No chance, mate. At best, you might come out with 2 weeks.
Taking medicine.
The 3. But in hindsight, taking the 3 would have been better.
Yeah.
So we'll move into Magic Round, mate. It kicked off on Friday night with the Sharks getting the job done against the Eels, 28-18.
Yes, indeedy. Try scorers here for the Sharks. KL.
I forgot to put that in the news, mate.
He's
changed his name to KL. They gave it. Mate, I'm taking over. Sorry. They gave a lovely story that it's in honor of his dad. I don't think that's true. I think he was sick of the Australian commentators not being able to pronounce his name right, so he's made it easy for them. I'm going, just call me KL from now on. But yeah, continue, mate.
KL Iro, Britton Nakora, Sam Stone Street, Cam McInnes, Sam Stone Street grabbed a second, as he tends to do. For the Eels, 2 to Josh Adokar and 1 to Dill Brown.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just giving the Australian commentators crap about not saying Kale's name right, and you can't say Samuel. So, but yeah, the Sharks look composed here. They stayed calm, took their chances, and defended well under pressure. There wasn't anything special in the performance, but they stuck to the game plan and executed it well. And for the majority of the match, they controlled the contest, which is all you can ask for. They let a few tries in when they had a man in the bin, but they didn't get overwhelmed and let the Eels surprise them. So a solid enough win. It's nothing I'm writing home about, but how you're going to take these wins when you can get them, especially when it's a home game for you in Queensland, of all places. So,
yeah.
Your thoughts on the Sharks?
Not too dissimilar from you. I think they did what they needed to do. They didn't go out there and look like a premiership threat or anything, even though probably the start of the year that's what I was pushing them as.
But mate. You're high
I was. But yeah, they still looking like a finals team, I think. They took their chances better than the Eels, and I think when you look at the rosters on paper, it's probably they did what they should have done, gone out and got the results. So, I think it was a good bounce back result. I think it's going to be a bit of a theme for me, but there's just a number of teams that sort of they're looking amazing one week and not so great the very next. And maybe I'm just making excuses for my shit tipping, but it was a better week for the Sharks this week.
Yeah, consistency and the issues with it is a theme throughout the NRL at the moment. Which we'll talk about heaps. But yeah, your thoughts on the Eels?
I think they're on a bit of a upward curve now that they've got Mitch Moses back, and I think Dill Brown makes a big Dill Walker makes a big difference to them as well. Not Dill Brown, Dill Walker. Just having him there to bring on, adding a bit of spark and a bit of support to the playmakers of the team. I think he's going to be very important for them next year when Dill Brown goes. Because Dill Brown's always been a better player when he's got Mitchell Moses next to him. But I think they're starting to get there, and I don't think they're going to be with Moses there. They don't look like they're going to be a wooden spoon team to me. But they didn't quite have it in them this match, but I think they're looking a wee bit better now that they're getting troops back.
Yeah, they're dead last at the moment, but I'm expecting them to avoid that spoon as long as Moses stays healthy. But yeah, they just struggled with defensive lapses and handling errors. They couldn't contain the Sharks' attacking threats. Really struggled with Nico Hines. They actually made Nico Hines look like a very dangerous player in this game. He was orchestrating key plays, which led to tries for the Sharks. But they did show resilience, which is something we couldn't say about them at the beginning of the year. And yeah, with Moses, they have improved. But it's their inconsistency and their inability to capitalize on opportunities, which costs them matches at the moment. There's a few games this year you could have circled and said, they did this, this, and this, they win that game. And yeah, it's just those little things that are the difference between being dead last like they are at the moment or up trying to reach top 8. It's that tight at the moment. They're only 4 points out of the 8 at the moment. So yeah, who knows? Who was your player to stand out?
Nikora, actually. I don't think I really rate him as a player, and I probably don't give him enough reps on the show. But just the lines he runs are epic. It plays well above his weight, and I don't think it's any coincidence his side get a lot of tries. Stone Street, I just think Nikita's presence opens up a lot of space, with those lines he runs and runs great decoys. So I thought I'd give him a shout this week. His try was superb too.
Yeah, I think he's one of the better second rowers when it comes to that line running. He was deadly when Sean Johnson was there, and Sean was just giving him that short ball, and he was scoring it felt like he was scoring every week. The halves may not be as good anymore as when they had SJ there, but he can still do that. So, as you said, it opens up opportunities for people outside him because everyone's watching him. So, great. But I went with Nico. I felt, as I said, the Eels made him look really good, but it felt like a game where he was actually trying to be a leader out there in the halves instead of just letting everyone else do everything. And he did well. He's just got to do it every week.
Yes.
So, went with that. And then we'll go to the next game on Friday, mate. Roosters defeating the Dolphins 36-26.
Yeah, the first of the Queensland teams going down in Brisbane. 7 tries to 4 for the Roosters. Rob Toya had 2. Victor Radley had 2. Mark Nawinga-Tawase had 2. It was the game for doubles this week for the Roosters. Connor Watson, he got 1 as well. For the Finns, Tapuai Fido had 2. Herbie Farnworth and Cody Nikarima.
Yeah, strong display from the Roosters here. Was a tight tussle for huge patches, but the Roosters just created more opportunities with their extensive offload game. I forgot to put the stats in here. I think it was like 18 offloads they had in this game. Their backs had a field day and were rewarded because of it. Took their foot off the gas in the final 30 and allowed the Dolphins a chance to get back into the contest, but did well enough to keep the well-earned win. And a dangerous side when they're in this type of mood. It was just very entertaining footy with all those guys. And spoilers for fantasy. Very happy that I ignored everyone saying to get rid of Toa.
Me too.
Kept him in my fantasy team.
He did very well.
Your thoughts on the Roosters?
Yeah, I thought they did really well. Carrying on the theme, they're just a very hard team to pick this year. A tipper's nightmare. But yeah, they brought out the goods for Magic Round. They did leak 26 points. That's probably the downside, but their attack was dangerous. Their outside backs, Teddy, Nawinga-Tawase, Toya, they were able to weave their magic, and it wound up being a comfortable win.
Any thoughts on the Dolphins?
It took them a wee bit to get into the game. I thought being in Brisbane might give them an edge, and I gave them my tips. So foolish of me there, but they defensively they just weren't there this week. I think they really struggled to contain the Roosters' attack. Their attack wasn't so bad themselves, scoring 4 tries and 26 points, but the defense really let them down this week, and probably be a focus for them this week.
Yeah, tough loss for the Dolphins. It was still anyone's game at halftime, but they just started too slow in that second half. The Roosters scored 3 tries in the first 10 minutes. They did show fight, and tried to make an impressive comeback, but it was just too little, too late. They just need to start playing for 80 minutes consistently, otherwise they're going to fall back into the poor form they started the season with. You just can't in the NRL. You can't switch off. We'll see it. We'll talk about it in a few games in this where teams switch off and other teams just come back.
Listen to us Warriors fans on our high horse about consistency, eh?
Yeah, we're consistent at the moment, but we make it hard on ourselves, to be fair. But yeah, your player to stand out. I know we went different here.
Yeah, I went Rob Toya. I think that's the best game I've... Yeah. Maybe a bit of fantasy bias there because I got him too, but I think that was the best game I've seen him play since the cracker he had in round 1. I think it was.
Yeah, I went with Teddy. Teddy was the link man with a lot of the action that Toa, Marky Mark, and the like were getting out there, and he's hitting his run for Origin call-ups. He's like, I'm still here, guys. So we'll see. And yeah, Jacko makes a good point. He said Warriors games are consistently stressful. Yeah, we'll talk about that, man.
Yeah, it's not good for my heart.
But yeah, I was close to going with Toya or Marky Mark as well.
Yeah, he's very good.
He is one of those Union converts that's kind of hit the ground running. He's really starting to feel his groove. Sean Johnson was talking on his body. He actually spoke to him after the game and said that he's really enjoying it and said it's faster and more physical than what he's used to. But he's loving every moment of it. So it's great to see that, one, it's a Union convert that's doing okay, and two, actually enjoying it. But yeah, I've been really impressed with him and Toya. Toya has had, big shoes to fill. So he's had a few dips, but yeah, great to see him get the odds there. But yeah, got to go with Teddy. First game on Saturday, mate. We probably don't have to talk about this one very long. Knights defeating the Rabbits 30-4.
Yep, 5 tries to 1. Hat trick for Fletcher Sharp, Jack Cocker, and Bradman Best. That was the Knights try scorers. For the Bunnies, Isaiah Tass. He was the only one to trouble the score sheet.
Yeah. Oh, mate, we didn't know. The Knights were tricking us all, mate. They haven't been scoring because they're saving all their points for this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, big improvement from the Knights here. They look sharper with the ball in hand, pun intended. Throwing the ball around more and asking questions of the Rabbits. Still had errors in their game. They still, the rain didn't help that, so I'll give them a bit of a pass there. But yeah, scoring 5 tries in the manner they did in the conditions was great, especially since, before this they were averaging like 10 points a game. So it's definitely better. And yeah, Jacko said this was the worst game of the round. Bunnies were awful, lacked energy, made Knights look okay. Yeah, I'm not booking grand final tickets for the Knights by any stage, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for them. But yeah, a lot of work to do. Just very upset that I got this one wrong because I kind of scoffed about the Rabbits and all their missing players not having an issue here. But that was wrong. But your thoughts on the Knights?
Yeah, for me, it was just about their attack. They were finally able to put a good score on the board. To say their attack's been struggling this year would be a massive understatement. They'll be extremely happy to see some flair and points return. Leo Thompson, I thought, was at his aggressive best in the forwards, causing some damage there. And Fletcher Sharp, obviously, his support play and getting into the right positions to cash in on that was very good. So yeah, good win for the Knights. It'll, hopefully that kind of result will hold them in good stead and inject a bit of confidence back, because just the last month or so they just look like they're completely lacking confidence. And we know they've got a lot of ability there in that team. It's not for lack of ability. It's just they were in a rut. So let's see if they can get some confidence out of this one.
Yeah, they've got a nice backup game this week against the Titans to kind of help build that confidence. But yeah, your take on the Rabbits? Looking at your notes, there's not much.
No, and yeah, I pretty much say that off the bat. It's hard to read too much into them because their lineup's just been so decimated for much of this year, and it's starting to show out on the field. I mean, I highly doubt they've rolled out the same team twice this year. They just, from the start of the year, they had big players out, Cam Murray, and now they're missing people like Cody Walker and important spine players too. It's not like it's fringe players. So I feel for them a wee bit. They've obviously got the super coach there, so I don't think it'll last long. I think they get some key players back and they'll find a bit of groove again. But
man, he was top notch in the presser afterwards.
Oh, I know.
It was like one of them said, like, "What did you think of that game?" And he just said, "It's not good, not good." That was it. And Bjorn said, "Did you see the tip Matty Johns put in for the game?" And Bjorn,
Ridiculous.
Yeah, sharp a hat trick into the Knights win around 250 to 1. Yeah, bastard. I had one. We're about to talk about that game after I say about the Rabbits and our players, but I was trying to get on. The TAB does their ads, and they did one saying we've got a special on at the moment for Warriors to win and Luke Metcalf to score a try. And I was trying to get on the app and do it, and it wasn't there as an option. And I was trying, and then by the time it popped up for me, he had already scored a try. And I was like, shit, and they took it away. But yeah, my thoughts on the Rabbits. Yeah, I was supremely confident coming into this that regardless of all the players that were missing, they'd still wipe the Knights. It just wasn't to be. They couldn't swing momentum into their favor. They never looked threatening. They were disorganized, and they just need some of those players back. Simple as that. I think it's obvious if anyone's watched this long enough who we're picking as our player of the round or player of the match.
Yeah. But before I say it, though, I'll do a bit of Paul's job. Fletcher Sharp led fantasy 76 points. Keon Kolomatangi 63 for the Bunnies. That was their highest. I went with Sharp.
Yeah,
Hat-trick rule.
And yeah, he looked amazing. It's crazy to think that you've got a guy like that and you're going to pay all that money to Dylan Brown when you could just use him. But yeah, crazy. Then we'll go to the next game, Matt. Game that aged me no end. I'm bloody old enough already. I didn't need this, but yeah, Warriors defeating the Cowboys 30-26.
I gained a lot of grey hairs this weekend. 5 tries apiece for the Waz. Luka Metcalf had 2. Ed Cossey, Chanel Harris-Tavita, and Adam Pompey with the intercept try right on halftime. For the Cowboys, Jackson Purdue, Tommy Dearden, Rob Derby, Murray Taulangi, and Jeremiah Nanai.
So very Samoan flair with, I think, almost all of our try scorers Samoan, mate.
It's what we
is
do.
Is Cossey Samoan?
He is.
Yeah, Pompey is Pompey both, or is he Māori?
He's Māori.
Yeah, no. Samoan
I don't know if he's got. I'm not sure if he's got any Samoan in him, but yeah.
Yeah.
Luke, obviously.
Yeah, I had to explain it to my missus, mate, because she's like, he doesn't look Samoan, and then I showed her the picture of him with the Samoan flag, and she's like, I still don't think it's a good joke, and he's embracing it. But yeah. Man, what a roller coaster of emotions this game was. That first half was fantastic. I was about to send a text to you and Rowan Hammer and say, Warriors are playing this game on easy. Might need to up the difficulty at halftime to make this interesting. Thankfully, I didn't. But it really happened. Yeah, their attack looked perhaps the best it has this season. In that first half, it all was flowing together. Pat continued to control the middle, and it allowed Luke Metcalf to have a field day, as Jacko's got here. Metcalf's coming of age as a halfback. His effort plays like that tackle on Tuolangi are exceptional. Yeah. He got the 2 tries. He was doing everything else, and then a try saver in the death. Not the first time he's done it this season. He did a try saving tackle earlier as well. But yeah, in that second half, they took the foot off the gas a little bit, lost momentum. I don't know your notes. You may talk about it. It was a bit of not a dodgy call, but it was an incorrect call that kind of leapfrogged the momentum.
Yeah,
but the Warriors couldn't get it back. They still had opportunities to get it back. And I don't know if it was to you or if it was to my dad, but I was just sitting there going, they just need the ball. Because it felt like an eternity where they were camped on their line. They were stopping the Cowboys from scoring, but they weren't. Anytime they got the ball back, they'll drop it or something would happen. And then eventually they got out of their own half and, defended and kept this as a well-earned win. I give them that. Thankfully, the Metcalf's kicking wasn't as bad as it has been in the past because it was 5 tries apiece. It was an extra penalty goal difference and an extra conversion. But, it was a gutsy display under pressure to keep the Cowboys out and hold the win. Definitely not the prettiest win we've got, but I think again, I'm just stealing from him again. Sean Johnson was talking about as well. The self-belief this team has in themselves is the difference. It's the difference between why we're winning the games this year and we were losing the same situations last year. And it's something I think as fans we can be proud of. Still a lot of work to do, as we know. But in the next month, with some really intriguing games, they could really solidify their top 4 spot. Bjorn said, I thought we were going to get done 13 plus with 20 minutes to go. It definitely looked that way with how they were rolling through.
Yeah.
And then, Jacko said, rest bag call for 7 tackle set to Cows was crucial. Yeah, that's what swung the momentum. But, there was plenty of opportunities you could try to swing it back. So, as much as I was saying on the night, hurling abuse at the ref, a little TV, there was plenty of chances. But, it was a pearl. And I think it annoyed me more that the Warriors were screaming to try to challenge and he didn't have a bar of it.
That's the thing. You can't, right? I mean, you can't. Otherwise,
I thought you could if he blew a whistle. Like he blew the whistle. I don't know the rule. So.
I'm not sure officially either. But for me, like if you allow challenges there, you just get teams doing it all the time to stop people from taking a quick restart.
Yeah, exactly. But I was very happy. As stressful as I was, we still haven't seen the best team that we've got. And Jacko also said he thinks we missed James Fisher-Harris when Steve Laugh was turning crap. Yeah, I feel like stuff like that when you've got your James Fisher-Harris's, your Mitch Barnett's, things like that would go away. Mitch doing it all by himself as the experienced guy out there makes it a bit harder. Before I give it to you, Sam Healy as well made his debut.
Yep, congrats to him.
Thought he did quite well. The first pass was a bit loosey-goosey. I was like, oh, no, but then he kind of strung it alive. Almost set up a great try at the end, just about the ball didn't go his way. And Bjorn said, why didn't the bunker check it, or is that only if it goes dead? I think it's only if it goes dead. It's so bloody murky with what the bunker can and can't do. You'll see them miss complete howlers that the ref, like a knock-on that you see visibly is a strip, and the bunker will stay tight-lipped. But I just don't know where they can and can't interfere. I'm not sure.
I thought, for me, for that kind of instance, there's the winger's standing there, hands up, looking to the sky. There's a lot of time for someone, a touch judge, a ref, to sort of take notice. Like I could see it. It was a wide camera angle, and I could see plain as day. He caught it before he put his foot down.
Yeah.
If it's that close, surely the bunker could have a quick look.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I'd probably give more of a shit about it if we had lost. But it's I don't know. It would be great if we had more clarity on what they can and can't pull back and whatnot. But your take on the Warriors, mate?
Unreal first half. The first half performance of the boys had me up and about. Again, our forwards, I thought, laid a really good platform in our spine. But in particular, Luke had an absolute field day, as Jacko rightly pointed out, coming of age performance. Didn't want halftime to happen the way it was going. But then halftime did happen, and the momentum swung heavily in the Cowboys' favor, and they were almost unstoppable for much of that second half, mostly because they had all the pill, like you said. Just seemed like they had the ball the whole time. Thankfully, the boys were able to regain their composure in the last 10 to 15 and stem the flow of points that the Cowboys were getting through effort plays and the try savers, moments of good line speed. We saw Lecker getting in there. So that was the most pleasing thing. Obviously, the most pleasing thing for me was how we played in the first half. But when it was all turning to custard, we showed some backbone and we were able to salvage the result that we earned in that first half.
Yeah, and the Cowboys played it smart, mate. When you had the injury to Berry and that edge got changed around. They just targeted it and were getting rewarded. So I give them credit for that. But your thoughts on the Cowboys?
tale of two halves for sure. First half defensively poor, as we know the Cowboys can be sometimes. Second half, their attacking prowess came out in spades, and I feel like the Cowboys they're a real momentum team too. So they get their tails up, and like they did here, and it nearly got them home. But they need to address their defense if they want to be competitive. Because 28 points in the first half is not great, but like you said, Brad, they used their smarts and nearly came up trumps because I felt so sorry for Taintua Piki. I think it looked like he felt so isolated out there. The amount of times he was sort of coming in on the center, and they were getting that overlap each time because I guess he's probably just didn't. Tane felt like he had to compensate for the the center reshuffle, but no, you go, mate. You go. I'm done.
Jacko also said Leka showed he can defend as well as attack. Yeah, and if you want to get your weekly dose of Halasima love, just watch Bloke in a Bar. Deanan talks about Leka like I talk about Millie. So which is great to see. But yeah, he also mentioned like in this game there was like a moment where he did a silly offload. And he got right back into work, put the hits in defensively and didn't let it rattle him. And he's 19. The fact that you have that. So yeah, the sky's the limit with that kid. I'm not sure about his haircut. But as a man who's dabbled in many strange bleachings and haircuts of my own, I'm not going to throw stones. Definitely helps you notice him on the field, though. And Jacko said we've won the last 4 against the Cows. Peyton's a frustrated coach. Yeah, we got his number at the moment. But yeah, the Cowboys have shown in the past few weeks. You didn't mention it, mate, but how dangerous they are. They've actually made a habit of running down big leads the past few weeks as well. So when that started happening, that's why I had the same thought as Bjorn before, going, oh no, here we go. They're going to run away with it. But yeah, they swung when that momentum swung their way. It definitely looked like they were going to run away with a win here. With the win in the sales, they looked almost unstoppable, but they left their run too late and rue some silly errors that led to Warriors points, that Clifford intercept in the first half. If that hadn't happened, we'd be probably talking about a completely different game when that momentum swung hit and we were a try less. And then, Tuolangi, that try, you would think on a good day he would beat Metcalf there and manage to stay in. Thankfully, it didn't happen, but despite the loss, I still think there's plenty of effort, plenty to like from this effort if you're a Cowboys fan. At the moment, it's a bit like how I said to you and Ruin Hammer during the Raiders game, saying like looking back now, losing to the Raiders wasn't as insulting in round 1 as it is with how good they're going. Losing to the Warriors like this probably isn't as bad as it used to be. It's not like the Eels or the Titans at the moment. If you did this against them, you'd be like, oh shit, we shouldn't have lost like this. But yeah, I think it's still commendable. So I give them credit there. Thankfully, they didn't get the win though. Your player to stand out, I think it's obvious.
Luca.
Yeah, Metcalf as well. My only issue I've had with him is his goal kicking, but he was 4 out of 5 from the tries and 1 out of 2 out of the penalties. Before we move on, what was your thought on them opting to take the 2s? I was perplexed. I know I said it to you and Ruin Hammer saying, are we just trying to pump up Metcalf's kicking stats while we're in the game? But
we want to take contest, mate, so you can't argue too much.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing there. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought maybe they would try to twist the knife and try to get some more tries on board. But yeah, it proved to be the difference in the end. So yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut. Last game on Saturday, Tigers defeating the Dragons 34-28. Mate, nothing better after a Warriors win than watching the Dragons lose.
What a night for Brad. That's
Yeah.
the ideal night, really. Did you have lamb shanks?
No, I can't remember what I had.
Oh, yeah. Well, what a night for Brad anyway. 6 tries to 5 for the Tigers. Charlie Staines had 2. Sunia Taruva, Samuel Afainu, Jareen Buller, and Adam Dewey, however you want to say it. For the Dragons,
AD. We'll just call him AD.
AD. For the Dragons, Dylan Egan, Val Holmes, Jacob Little ×2, and Hamish Stewart.
Yeah, good win for the Tigers. I've made it no secret on this show we do for how many years we've bloody been doing it that I love the Tigers. I've just felt for them with them being the perennial battlers at the bottom, but they had a dominant first half like the Warriors the game before, which set them up for success. Rinse and repeat what I say every week about them. Terrell May earns them go forward, and then the backs can turn that into points. Whatever issues there are between Galvin and the team have been left at the door because him and Lua are working really well together.
Yeah.
It's a bit different like to what we were saying about Manly, where you could see like maybe the DCE exiting has caused a bit of friction with the tub. None of that's happening with the Tigers. They're all on the same page. And yeah, another team that took the foot off the throat in the second half. It almost cost them a bit like the Warriors game just before, but it's just great to see them win. I'm really loving, like, they all seem really happy there. You know, you look at Taruva and his post-match interview with everyone and like how happy he was to just be getting interviewed and that they're winning.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I just love to see it and love to see them doing well. Bjorn said, I must have loved the Paul Dragons guy stuffing up the try. We'll talk about that when we talk about the Dragons. And then Jagger said, Terrell May's a freak. Terrell May, yeah. As good as Payne Haas is, I would take Terrell May any day of the week. He is just tremendous at his young age, and all the attitude issues he apparently had, if you listen to the Roosters, I haven't seen a single bit of it. I've seen nothing but an old head on that young kid's shoulders, being the leader, and just pure luck that the Tigers, managed to get that. And I think I said it last week. I was so worried about them when they lost Stefano, but you couldn't give me, even if they offered Stefano back for free, I wouldn't take him over Terrell.
He's got a lot of passion on game day, doesn't he? And a big motor. He doesn't like being pulled off, even if it's only for a couple of minutes.
He wants to play 80, and he I think I said it a few weeks ago, what minute 1 and minute 80 is the same exact performance from him. He doesn't lull. He does everything. And fantastic and great to see that. And Jack also said he thinks the Tigers will sign Maysborough. Yeah, I think they'll get him eventually as well when he's waiting for God to tell him to come and play rugby league again, though, so they have to wait. Yeah. But I think they'll get him as well. He'll want to play with his brother and whatnot. But yeah, fantastic. Your thoughts on did you talk about the Tigers yet? No.
Not yet, mate. Well, that's how much we're waffling.
Yeah.
I'll give you my thoughts now.
Mate.
Yeah. I thought it was obviously another really good win for the Tigers. I'm really happy to see the turnaround this year so far. They're a really fun team to watch. And, I just echo your thoughts, Brad. I've really felt for them the past 3 or 4 years, and it's nice to see them rise. They scored some lovely tries again in this one. The defense wasn't perfect. The Dragons, the Dragons weren't too far off in the end, but they'll happily take the win and keep sort of keep in touch with the top 8.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your thoughts on the Dragons?
Another team, extremely tricky to pick this year. They gave this one plenty. And if Jaden Stewart didn't give up an unforgivable 12-point swing, that's one of the worst I've seen, to be fair. All he had to do was put it down. Nothing fancy. I know the conditions may have been a bit greasy, but all the Dragons had clocked off because they assumed he was going to score. And Jareen Buller was just waiting waiting for some scraps, and away he went. Yeah, who knows?
It,
Without that 12-point swing, this one could possibly have gone the Dragons' way.
yeah, it was like time travel, me, mate. You remember a few years ago, it was Tigers Rabbits.
Yes, of
Where it was
course,
similar.
yeah.
It was the exact same thing where I think was it Burgess?
It was Burgess, yeah.
And then Luke Brooks grabbed it, went the other way, and they had to go up and try to review, and it didn't end up being a Tigers try, but it was the same type of thing. But yeah, Dragons just started too slow, and they painted themselves into a corner. Jaden's fumble was shocking. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be as mean as you because I've actually done something very similar. I think I told it was a high school reunion, past first presence rugby union game, and I picked and goed over the line, dropped it over the line.
It hurts, eh? Yeah.
It hurts. Still hurts me now, and that was a long time ago. But yeah, that kind of set the tone for the Dragons here. Like when it's he dropped it and they went length of the field and scored. It's like, oh no, they've broken their spirit. But they did well to fight back into the contest. But they just got to work on those 1%ers if they want to turn these close losses into wins. It's just the little details they're getting wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe Flano's got to start dropping the right players instead of the wrong ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Your player to stand out.
Yeah, it had to go Terrell again. He just seems to be the heart and soul of like him. Obviously, his presence, Luai's presence, their recruitment this year has been crazy. But Terrell May seems to be the heart of it, the consistency, the motor. Yeah, he's just an Iron Man.
Yeah. You know, I love my AFB, but I've barely spoken about that man this year. He's still doing well, but Terrell May and Payne Haas are blowing everyone else out of the water when it comes to front row efforts this year.
He was the highest Tiger for fantasy, 68 points. Dylan Egan, 79, the highest in the game.
Yeah, I almost grabbed him last week in my trades too. Egan. I've got Terrell, but yeah, I went with Terrell too. Got a man crush like you wouldn't believe on that prop. So yeah. So we moved to Sunday, mate. We down to the last day of Magic Round. Bulldogs bouncing back, beating the Titans 38-18.
Yes, 6 tries to 4 for the Doggies. Jacob Carraz, hat-trick. Connor Tracy, Jacob Preston, and Reed Marnie for the Titans. Both Burmore, Phil Sami, both Burmore had a second, and Camperera.
Yeah, nice bounce back from the Doggies here. Playing against a team that can't defend suited them nicely, with Crichton making Carraz look like a superstar on the edge. Had some big names missing in the pack, but it didn't stop them getting a roll on. I need to see them perform like this against the top 4 side before I start removing my doubts. As I said, you know, I thought they were really, like Jacko said, a few cracks starting to show in Doggies. Yeah, I think it was an eye-opener last week when they had to play the Broncos. They got a softball with the Titans here, and they look good again. This week is going to be the test. If they can go up against the Raiders and walk away with a win, then I might remove some of those doubts about how good or bad they actually are. At the moment, it's still in the back of my mind that we're going to see them slowly come down the ladder. Not to they're missing out on finals level or anything like that, but I see them potentially missing the top 4 once they start hitting those, you know, playing the Storm, playing or these other big bopper teams. They ain't played us yet either. You know, we can beat them, I'm sure. But yeah, overall, it's a good bounce back. They needed to have a decent score against a lowly team, and they did. So, yeah. Your thoughts on the Doggies?
Yeah, back on track for the Dogs. They're a very professional team this year. In my eyes, they had, like you said, Brad, they're missing some key players from the week before, but despite that, Clinical made the most of their chances in this one. Stephen Crichton and Carraz in particular gave the Titans left edge. They gave them a bath, really. The poor Titans left edge was having a nightmare with those two, but yeah, too classy for the Titans. Good bounce back from the Dogs.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the Titans?
I'm not too sure where to from here for the Titans. They're definitely in a rut right now. Not disappointed, given I've tipped them for the spoon. But yeah, no obvious signs of improvement is the thing, though. Something seems off with them. Poor on-field performances, but also big money players like Fafita, we spoke about it. They seem off. It seems offside with the coach. Not a lot of good signs coming out of the Titans. But you say all that, they've got some superstars in their team still that can. I'm not willing to talk too down on them too much because I was doing it last year. They came out and thrashed us twice. Yeah, they've got that in them. They can be going really poorly and then come out and then it all clicks and they look great. But yeah, not looking good at the moment.
Titans are just returning the Titans we're used to. Can score points whenever they want, but they can't defend, or they're not overly interested in the defensive side of the game at least. I feel sorry for Brian Kelly. Your goal kicker gets injured early on and you have to goal kick and you have a horrible night at the tee. If they had a guy that was getting, it got 3 out of the 4, the scoreline's completely different. Still a loss, but it doesn't look as bad. They're just not a good enough team right now to win the way they like to win, which is just outrunning other teams. We're just going to outscore you. They're not good enough to do that right now. How to fix it? I don't know. An honesty session or a clean out of the roster may be the only options left. If all those rumors about Dez and like Fafita not getting on and whatnot, maybe a good old sit down with a couple of beers and like just sorting the shit out and getting it all out in the air may help, but I don't know. Your player to stand out.
Perez, 102 points fantasy. Big Tino, 73, highest for the Titans. I feel like a lot of players made our choice quite easy this week. Perez, hat-trick rule.
Yeah, hat-trick rule went with Kraz as well. I almost gave it to Crichton, but he scored no tries, but he set up all of Kraz's tries, so it was almost, but got to go with the hat-trick rule. We go to the second to last game of Magic Round, mate. Panthers defeating the Broncos 32-8.
Yep, 5-1 for the Panthers. Isaac Tango, Patea, Luke Cleary. Nathan Cleary. Don't know where I got Luke from. I'm thinking of Metcalf, the real goat of halfbacks. Nathan Cleary had one, very similar to his try against the Broncos in 2023 Grand Final.
Oh, it was identical. It was crazy.
Identical. Very enjoyable to watch. And 2 for Thomas Jenkins. For the Broncos, only the one try, Ben Hunt, and a penalty goal from Reynolds.
Yeah, and Bjorn made a comment saying Hasler's a tight ass, he won't be paying for those beers. The most refreshing beer is a free one. So I'll stick with that. But yeah, Panthers of old come out again. I feel like they're doing it on purpose. I shit on them and then they go, oh no, we can still play like we used to. Cleary had the ball on a string and they just played pressure footy like we're used to seeing, forcing the Broncos to make mistakes and then turning that into points. I still think they're too far down the ladder to make to become a threat. But if they show up like this every week, they may surprise me. They need to build wins like where they are now. At the moment, if they just keep getting normal wins, they might climb a little, but they might just be stuck the same distance away from the teams above them. But they've also got Origin, and if a couple of those guys are out and they can't perform during Origin, they might be in trouble. So that's why I'm still not convinced. But and Jago said Cleary was outstanding. Broncos tried to bully and smash him, which backfired big time. Yeah. When he's in that type of mood, you can't do anything. But Jacko said, Origin will knock Panthers back again. I think it was my boy Tony Gelling on his podcast was saying, like, if they lose like another 4 games, you can write them out of even making finals. And, so if they lose 3 of those games, the 3 Origin, encounters, it's just one other loss, which they could do against another big team. They could be out. So we'll see. Every time I write them off, though, they come out and do an old performance. So your take on the Panthers?
They've been poor this year, obviously, but they chose a good time to find their best form. Magic Round, and easily accounting for the Broncos in Brisbane, even though it was a Broncos away game, technically. Cleary showed what we already know. He's one of the best in the game. And like you guys have already said, he orchestrated this one beautifully. Got the try assist, 40-20. He was doing it all, as we know he can. Very, very good. Very good performance from the Panthers here. We know they have this in them, and that's why I'll never completely write them off until it's mathematically impossible. We saw the Knights in 2023 go on a 10-game run, which almost put them in the top 4 when they had a very poor start. So, I mean, if they can do it, the Panthers certainly can as well.
Yeah, and Bjorn said also said they've got a few buys during Origin, which will help them out. Yeah, forgot about that. And yeah, then Jagger said Bronx had problems. I thought Madge would knock them into shape mentally, but nah. Yeah, so speaking of that, what were your thoughts on the Broncos?
Not what I was expecting from the Broncos, who were very good last week. And I think they were so good, they gave me confidence to tip them against the Panthers. That and it being at Suncorp. But yeah, another team where their form's been very up and down this year. And I think when they review this one, there won't be much good to pick out of it for them. But they need to pick something out and somehow find some consistency, because Madge just can't seem to pull out. I guess you could say the difference between their best game and their worst game is quite vast. So that's pretty much the story for the Bronx. That all the talent in the world, they just need to string it together more often.
Yeah, I've kind of got the same. The Broncos forgot to show up to their own stadium. They're on the back foot for the final 70 minutes of this match. Like the first 10 minutes, they looked like they could be in it. But they were just outclassed. Too many silly errors and just no heart or desire to turn this into a contest. Need to find consistency week to week if they want to be viewed as a genuine contender. I had them in the grand final against the Storm, and I don't think I could say they're going to be a grand final contender at the moment. And yeah, Jagger said maybe matches like these trying old school ways with modern players. Yeah, I love Madge, but I feel like Madge, you saw it with the Tiger Town stuff. He uses his emotions to get the players to play. And I think the Broncos just aren't that type of team. They which is what I said when they announced him. I said I don't see him being able to get the Reece Walshes and the Ezra Mams to, play ball with his style of what he wants to do. Yeah, which we've seen. Reece Walsh has had probably his worst beginning to a season ever in his short NRL career this year. Ezra Mam ain't even playing yet for other reasons. But, I don't know. They got to do something. They got more than enough talent. And, against a team lacking in confidence at the moment like the Panthers to get dicked like this, I don't know. But we'll move on to the last game, mate. Raiders defeating the Storm, ruining my beautiful multi and Golden Point 20-18.
Were you just assuming we're both picking Cleary as our player to watch?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Did you pick anyone that wasn't Cleary?
97 fantasy points, I went with Cleary.
Yeah, so did I. Sorry. I just saw the time going, man, some of these people have places to be, man.
I know, it's nearly bedtime. What's going on?
Raiders ruining my multi, 20-18.
Sorry about that, Brad. Nearly got it. 3 tries apiece for the Raiders, Tamale, Timoko, and Weeks. And for the Storm, Grant Anderson, Peppenhausen, and Suafalomo.
Yeah, a great win for the Raiders here. A true display of heart, complete opposite to what I just said about the Broncos. It looked to be on the ropes around the hour mark, but refused to give up and force Golden Point with a great solo effort from KO Weeks. I was yelling at him the whole time to not score it. Then luck was on their side with some Golden Point calls, which secured their win. And while I don't agree with the calls, they nailed them for the win, which is all you can ask for. There was nothing flashy about this team. but they just excel at sticking to a simple game plan and making the most of their opportunities. Makes me feel a bit better, as I said a bit earlier, about the Warriors losing to them in Vegas, as they are actually a very good team. Jacko said Ref Sutton was was poor. Your thoughts on the Raiders?
Yeah, gritty. They started poorly. They've conceded the first couple of tries, but they showed the 2025 Raiders they're made of tough stuff. This team, you can't write them off. Their defense, their aggression, it seemed to really put the Storm off and get them off their game. And in the end, we saw a spectacular try from KO Weeks to level things, and then the golden point chaos unfolded. The Liero high tackle that led to the game-winning kick. I think if you put that in the 10th minute of the game, you're saying penalty, and it's not a big thing. I think it's more the situation where it happened that's got people emotional. The Utoi Kamano stepping over Starling and the all-in that resulted in Utoi Kamano and Papali'i being sin-binned for the scuffle. That was a mess, and that's where I think Sutton lost his control. But either way, great run for the Raiders against who most people are picking as the premiership favourite. So I think that was the Raiders announcing themselves as, I think, a genuine top 4 contender.
Yeah, and Jacko said Storm are just not the same without Grant directing things. Yeah, see, so that Stefano situation, I still disagree. I don't mind the Simbins because he did say, if you guys do all this pushing bullshit, I'm going to send you. But I didn't agree with him penalizing Stefano for kicking, because I don't think he was kicking. He was trying to plant his foot, and Starling was like hugging around his leg and being a dick. So I don't think there was a genuine attempt to kick. So I thought that penalty was incorrect. But the Simbins, I may have been overboard in the situation, but he did say, if you guys start pushing, I'm going to do it. But yeah, we've all been there when a yappy little hooker is like being a dick. You're going to push him, mate. Yeah. But your thoughts on the Storm?
I feel like they almost beat themselves in this one. They started really well, and normally when they do that, you see them go on with it. I don't have the stats in front of me, but if Storm are leading at halftime, they generally go on and win the game. But yeah, they, like I kind of said when talking about the Raiders, the Storm lost their cool, and I think it was just the Raiders' line speed, aggression. Dare I say, a little bit of niggle here and there, and chat. It really put the Storm off their game, and they're normally a very composed side, able to deal with that. But yeah, I think it really got to them in this one, and I think that was the losing of the game. Their discipline, obviously, as well. Liero, Utoi Kamano, Bellamy was not a happy chappy at those two. I think we saw visions of him giving them a spray in the changing room. Yeah.
Look to have this game secured multiple times, but just let themselves down with poor discipline errors. As I already said, I think the penalties in golden point, and also that one they got when they did the field goal, I thought they were all incorrect calls, but they had plenty of opportunities to win before then. Just need to show more composure, but they're going to bounce back. While I disagree with Sutton's calls, what are the Raiders meant to do? Say, no, sir, you got that wrong. We're not going to take it. So yeah. I throw no shade to the Raiders for it. What are they going to do? You're going to just throw it away because the ref made a bad call. It's on the ref. But yeah, I may be biased because it cost me money. So I was ropeable. I was saying many horrible things about Sutton. Jacko also said long term this may be a good loss for the Storm. Yeah, it hasn't changed in my head them going all the way this year. I still think it's going to happen. It's not like they got 50 points put on them by the Raiders here. They lost in golden point. So it's a loss that will hurt, and Bellamy's probably still beating the shit out of his pillow at home about it. But it's not overly concerned. But yeah, congrats to the Raiders. It's a very tough win. Are you a player to stand out?
Ali Couture, 72 points fantasy. Joe Tapani 67 for the Raiders. Didn't go either of them. I went Leoro for negative reasons. I think his discipline, his performance, kind of it just summed up the Storm performance really. But yeah, a couple of big moments here. I hope he learns from them, but he'd love to have them back.
He scored all right fantasy-wise as well. I think he ended on 46, which I thought wasn't bad for, all the shit that happened at the end.
Yeah.
But I went with KO Weeks for even getting them to Golden Point. I thought that try was amazing. Even when they showed you like the replay and you're seeing it like from behind Pappenhausen, like over Pappenhausen's shoulder, and you see him as soon as he looks like he's going to kick, and you see Pap trying to adjust in the wet weather, and then as soon as he turned, he knew he was done. Yeah. Almost got there to punch the ball out when KO was scoring. But hell of a talent that week's. And Bjorn said surely Storm need Nas back soon. The problem with Nas is that every time he comes back, he ends up taking out one of their own players. So it's a bit of a risk. But yeah, they need something there. But as Jacko said earlier, without Harry Grant, the Storm are a different team. I think if he's there, they win these ones. But that was the round, mate. So let's see, without Paul here, if I can figure out how to do this properly. We'll bring up the ladder. Yeah, we got the ladder. Oh. I'm not gonna mess with it, mate. I got the top 8 this week. So Bulldogs are the only team in the top 4 to stay where they are at first. Raiders moved up to 2nd. Warriors moved up to 3rd. Storm moved to 4th. Broncos stayed the same at 5th. Sharks moved up to 6th. Seagulls moved up to 7th. And Tigers in the 8, baby, up to 8.
The bottom half, the Cowboys 9th, Dragons in 10th, Roosters 11th, Knights 12th, Rabbitohs 13th, Dolphins 14th, Panthers off the bottom there in 15th, Titans down to 16th, and Parramatta dead last.
Nice. So yeah, it's still an interesting ladder, but it's still real tight. The Warriors could even a Warriors win this week could have them tied, or depending on who wins, the Bulldogs and Raiders, it could move them up to 2nd, even tied with 1st, depending on how things go. We could end up having all 3 teams on 16 points at the top if the Raiders beat the Bulldogs and the Warriors beat the Dragons. So interesting. And the Panthers, 6 points. 9th is 10th. It's still close. So it'll be fine. So we'll go to fantasy, mate. We won't go on long. You scored 758. You're round 9. You're 150,263rd.
You didn't need to read that, but you left that one out.
Yeah, you got a 13 in there, mate. And then -2. I got a -2 as well, but my -2 was sitting on the bench for me.
Tui Kamika, that 13, he was the only prop I could afford to replace the middle through injury. And I knew he wasn't going to get big minutes, but he's all I could afford. You're showing your fantasy experience, Brad, because you're pumping me every week. So I'm hoping I'm only going to get better at this.
I'm pumping you every week, but I'm getting spanked in my league. As I told you, I was playing the only undefeated guy in my league last round, and he beat me by 20 points. So I may have been one of the closest ones to pip him, and it was all down to picking Terrell as my captain instead of Cleary. It happens every week. I regret picking one over the other. But yeah, I ended up on 921, and I was 86,086 in the in the round.
Nicely done, Brad. Nicely done.
So I had to make a few trades this week because I forgot that I basically stacked my team full of Roosters, and they got the bye. So I think I got rid of Connor Watson, and I think I got rid of Smith as well. I might be wrong. I can't remember. We'll go to the tipping comp, mate. So more 2 of you and your son, you bastards, went with the Jokers this week.
I was tired of seeing myself on the bottom.
Which saw ACT Hellcat is still at the top but your son has moved all the way to second now because of that joke around.
He's very happy about that.
Then Michael Pazzuto is third, the Yerk fourth, Bjorn's all the way up in fifth, MB Sports Fan sixth, Harry Poppins seventh. You moved up to eighth. You're in finals contention, mate.
Yes.
Simon's dropped all the way down to ninth. The boy from SNB is 10. I'm 11. Roscoe is 12, and then Hammer back to the laugh where he belongs every time he does our comp with us.
Few of you haven't used your jokers yet, though, so you got that up your sleeve.
You'll see, I went too early on my jokers last year, so I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait. Last 3 rounds, mate. Just bang, bang, bang. So that is it for now on the pretty little pictures. So we'll go to questions. We've answered all of yours as we're going. We'll go with your one first.
We've made it to Magic Round in far better shape than you or I could have imagined and wished for. The Warriors I'm talking about. Yeah. So we're sitting in the top 4. What areas do you think we need to improve to stay in the top 4?
Before you say that, Jacko's got to go. So see you, Jacko.
Thanks, Jacko.
Goal kicking.
Yeah.
And I think the attack is finding its groove. Yep. Roger and Dallin will be back sooner rather than later. Dallin's back this week. I think once you've got those guys back, the attack is going to get better because they actually have, not saying that Tane and Ed Cossey weren't scoring tries because they've been scoring tries when you give them the chance. But I feel like having a guy like Dallin out there, he's either going to score the tries for you or the defense is going to be too busy watching him and the center's going to score. So I think opportunities like that will come up. So goal kicking and lapses.
Yeah.
We've seen it in games where we'll do well and then there'll be a 10 to 15 minute period where they may switch off and the other team will score a few tries.
Yeah.
So if they can eliminate that, I think they've got themselves in a good spot to stay in the top 4. There's not a lot. They're slowly improving little things, but I think it's that. Their discipline's been good. Most weeks, their errors are pretty good.
Yeah.
So, it's just getting those edges back and getting them scoring points and playing the 80. That's the cliche.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same. It's almost identical to your thoughts. I feel like we've laid a really good foundation for the year. We just need to keep making little improvements on both sides of the ball where we can. Over the course of the season, obviously having key personnel stay healthy will help, but also developing that ruthlessness. If we have a team on the ropes, put them away. You described it as lapses, and that describes it perfectly. But I just want to see some wins where we're ruthless and go on with it.
Nice. And then my question for you, mate, we're 9 rounds in. Who do you think's been the best signing this season?
Okay. I'll throw a couple at you. Probably overall, Terrell May. Just, superb. We've already sort of glazed him enough.
Yeah.
we know what he's doing. He's probably the best prop running around right now, not named Payne Haas. And then I'll give you a bang for buck one, Aaron Clark.
Nice. You stole my two. I had the same. I
Really?
said Terrell May overall and money-wise, Aaron Clark. I think
that's scary.
We don't know what he's getting. He's getting not very much.
Yeah.
And he is delivering. He's delivering way more than the Warriors probably expected him to because they were expecting Tohu Harris this year.
Yeah.
So he basically, with everything that's happened now, he would be Dylan Walker in this team now that Dylan Walker's gone.
He's filling Walker, Tohu Harris. He's filling a couple of people's Adam.
He's their post-meter eater at the moment.
And we've not lost a step.
Yeah. So, we should have made Tohu retire years ago, mate. What's going on? No, in jest.
Yeah,
but so same then. Cool. So that was easy. So we'll move
Well,
on
mate,
to
great minds think alike.
yeah. We'll go on to the Warriors Dragons game, mate. Playing on Saturday, my favorite game of the year and my least favorite at the same time due to what the Dragons can do to us, especially over there.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Potential banana skin.
Yeah. That's as best I can do. It's just all blurry for you guys, but we read it out anyway. So you want to give us the Warriors team, mate?
You bet. Chance at fullback. Dallin makes his return.
Yep.
So hopefully his cardio is not too bad. This Taintor Peaky's the other winger. The centres, Adam Pompey, Kurt Capewell. Is needing to plug a hole there because of all our injuries. Chanel Harris-Tavita and Luke Metcalf in the halves. Front row, Jacko Ford, Mitch Barnett, Wade Egan.
Yep.
Back row, Leka Halasima, Maratania Kore, and Aaron Clark, the man we're just talking about. Interchange, Sam Healy, Jacob Laban, Dimitri Vaimonga, and big back fence Bunty, as Hectic Fred calls him.
I forgot to meet. How great was it to see that he finally got to meet him?
Awesome. So good. Yeah. I like the team. Think it's a team capable of winning over there. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I like the team too. Interesting one. We don't talk about the extended, but Rogers named on the extended. What's the likelihood of him making the team, mate?
Well, if he's fit enough, I'm picking him, mate. Given we've got Capewell out in the centres, we could really use a Roger on the pitch if he's fit enough. That's the real question. Is he physically up to it?
From what I understand, it's basically if he passes the fitness test, he's in. If he doesn't, it's another week.
Yeah.
But where would you bring him in? Would you boot Taintor Picky out, or would you go back to the foul experiment and put him in at centre? And Bjorn just answered the question himself, saying if he does, not in the centres. I don't want him in the centres either. I don't want to see him in the centres, but I don't want to see Tang gone either.
Maybe we don't want to see him in the centres, but I think I want him in the centres if it means he's in the centres instead of Capewell. Nothing against Capewell. He did very well when he filled in there last time, but
he was outstanding.
He was, but the extra pace and footwork, and Capewell can continue to do what he's in the team to do, play in the back row.
Yeah, I'd rather blow it all up and put Tane at fullback, Chance and centre, Roger on the wing, if it was me. But that's how I want it all the time. So, which won't happen because I'm pretty sure Chance wouldn't have re-signed with us if he knew they were going to move him into the centres. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think Tane's done a lot, but we kind of know Tane's kind of been there as a fill-in. So once the players are back, you knew he was going to move on back to reserve grade. So it'd be sad, but especially he didn't have the best game at Magic Grounds. So it would really suck if he's back to reserve grade after having that as his final first grade performance for now. But I'm happy with the team. It's great to see Healy in there again. I really like the idea of having another guy out there that can, fill in for Egan. Egan's touch wood. He's been great with the injury department this year, but I just like the pizzazz, and it showed he had the confidence, Webster had the confidence that with the game on the line last week, he brought Healy on still. He didn't hold him back and say, no, we're going to keep Egan out there. There was a bit of a time when they were both out there and they were playing Healy as a lock. And I was like, oh, man, it's Freddie Lussick all over again. I don't want to see them do this to this kid. But they moved him back into the hook role. And I think he can add a bit of a dimension to the attack when you've got those tiring forwards because he's not afraid to run, even, as young and inexperienced as he is, he's going to give it a crack. So I like it. It's closer to the team I had envisioned because I always had Sam Healy in my team. So I'm more than happy enough with it. For the Dragons, we've got Clint Gutherson at fullback, Tyrell Sloan and Corey Allen on the wings, Moses Sully and Valentine Holmes in the centres, Carl Flanagan and Laikan King Togia, I think is how you say his name.
Tongia.
Halfback Togia. Toby Couchman, Davian Cook, David Clemmer front row, Dylan Egan and Jaden Sewer in the seconds. I thought Sewer was going to be dropped. I thought it was going to happen. And Hamish Stewart at lock, and then your bench. Oh, that's interesting. Jacob Laban is playing.
What have you done there? Jacob Little.
Jacob Little, sorry. I got excited when I was typing this. It was surprise news here. Jacob Laban signing with the Dragons. Then Jack DeBella and Luciano Leilua and Loco Pacifica Tonga on the bench. Good side. Jacob Laban's going to go great for them, mate. Little has shown that he's dangerous.
Yeah.
But they love playing us over there. But I'm going with the Warriors here. I think we're too good at the moment. I think we're going to try to suffocate them into a growing game.
Yep.
And that seems to be where the Warriors excel. Who are you going with?
I'm backing us too. I just think we have the edge where it matters, in the forwards and the halves. All
right. So both going there. I'm writing them all down so we can tell Paul how to waste his money. So we'll go to the rest of the round, mate. On Thursday, we have the Eels and the Dolphins. I'm going with the Eels. Eels at home. That's my risk, and I want to try to get up the ladder.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'll go the other way then. I was torn on this one too. We need to separate ourselves. So
Yeah. It's basically home advantage for me.
Yeah.
Friday night, we got Knights Titans. I've gone with Knights.
Yeah, I have to go Knights there too.
All right. So we're writing Knights down. Then we got Rabbits Broncos. I've gone Broncos.
Broncos, yeah. Bunnies too decimated.
Too decimated, and the Broncos be looking for a bounce back. First game on Saturday, game of the round.
Oh.
First, second, Raiders, Doggies. I've gone with the Raiders.
Juicy. Wow. Yeah.
Raiders at home.
I was extremely torn. I'm going Raiders at home, Doggies, too many people suspended.
Yeah, and we know Paul's a coward, and he will pull that out of the multi.
He will.
Next game, we had Dragons, Warriors. We both picked Warriors.
Yeah.
Then the final game on Saturday, we got Cowboys, Panthers. I've gone Panthers.
Yep. I did too. I think this is the second time they've played, right, this year?
Yes.
I think Cowboys got them last time, right? So a bit of revenge. Yeah.
Then on Sunday, it is a tough one. Sunday, we got Storm Tigers. I love me Tigers, but I'm going Storm.
Yep. Storm don't lose twice in a row, or very seldom.
Yeah. They did this year, didn't they? Already? I think they did. I don't know. I can't remember. It might have been the Panthers that I was saying surely they won't lose another one. Then final game, mate. Manly versus Sharks. I have gone with the Manly. They're at home.
Yeah.
Are they even going to play away? Out.
I don't know. I feel like they've had a lot of games at 4 points, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Manly for me. Manly for me as well.
All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've disagreed on one to make ourselves feel different, mate. So, yeah. We'll see how much money we lose for Paul. Anything else you want to add? We're going 2 hours again. I know Paul doesn't like the 2 hours because it messes with his clips and stuff. So we'll try to go quick.
No, I'm happy. Thanks everybody for coming on for a chat. Enjoyable as always.
Yeah, no, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on Rugby League, tune into our show next week on Facebook or YouTube at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, or an iHeartRadio, Spotify at your own convenience. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers again for joining me, Richie, and see you guys all next week.
Up the was.
The was.